Good afternoon, everyone. For today's report, it's all about human capital, education, and health in economic development. Central roles of education and health. Education and health are basis objective of development. They are important ends in themselves. Health is central to well-being and education is essential for satisfying and rewarding life. Ang education and health ay parehong mahalaga. Ang ating kalusugan ay ito yung dapat din natin inaalagaan. Then the education is ito yung paraan o daan para makamit natin ang pangarap sa buhay. And at the same time, education plays a key role in the ability of developing country to absorb modern technology and to develop the capacity for the self-sustaining growth and development. Education is important because this is another way para mas lalong ma-develop ang ating bansa and para mas mapadali ang pag-access natin sa modern technology. Both health and education can also be as vital components of growth and development. The developing world continues to face great challenges as seek to continue to improve the health and education of its people. The distribution of health and education within countries is important as income distribution life expectancy may be quite high for better off of people in developing countries but far for lower for the poor. So marami rin kinaharap na pagsubok para lang patuloy na mapaunlad ang health and education. Sa mga mayayaman may kaya sa buhay is maganda yung access nila both health and education. Pero sa mga mahihirap is mahirap din nila nakukuha ang enough capacity of education and to health is hindi rin ganun kaayos. Education and health, voice of the poor. So ito yung hinaing ng mga mahihirap in terms of education and health. If you don't have money today, your disease will take you to your grave. This is from old woman from Ghana. The children keep playing in the sewage. This is from Sacadura, Cabral, Brazil. The school was okay, but now it is shambled. There are no teachers for week. This is from Villa Joquira, Brazil. Teachers do not go to school except when it times to receive salary. This is from Nigeria. Before everyone could get healthcare, but now everyone just pray to God that they don't sick because everywhere they ask just for money. This is from Bosnia and Herzegovina. So, ganyan pala talaga kahirap ang buhay noon para sa mga mahihirap. That was so discriminating for other poor people that kung mahirap ka, parang wala ka ng karapatang mabuhay. And I feel so sad. And sana mabago yung ganitong treatment of people kasi nakakaawa yung mga tao, lalong-lalo na yung mga kapos sa pera. Next is education and health as joint investment for education. Health and education are closely related in economic development. On the other hand, greater health capital may improve the return investment to education in part because health is important factor in school attendance in the learning process of a child. Ang health and education is parehong mahalaga sa economic development kasi kung hindi natin iingatan ang ating kalusugan, paano tayo makaka-attend sa school? Hindi tayo makakapag-focus mag-aral kung mahina ang ating immune system. And in terms of education, nagre-return din ito sa atin bilang investment natin. Ano ba ang possible impact nito kung sakaling makagraduate tayo? Siyempre, makakakuha tayo ng magandang trabaho and our big investment sa ating sarili is education dahil yan lang ang hindi mananakaw ng ibang tao sa atin. Improving health and education while increasing income is not sufficient. Health and education levels are much higher in high-income countries. There are good reason to believe that causality of both direction with high income people and government. Kung maganda ang health and education, there's a possible na malaki rin ang kikitain ng bansa. And because of that development policy need to focus on income, health, and education.
Good day everyone. My name is Masar Satar from BSCD2B. So this is my report. So my topic is all about investing in education and health, human capital approach. The analysis of investment in health and education is unified in the human capital approach. Human capital is the term economics often used for education, health, and other human capacities that can raise productivity when increased. An analogy is made to conventional investment in physical capital. After an initial investment is made, a stream of higher future income can be generated from both expansion of education and improvements in health. As a result, a rate of return can be deduced and compared with return to other in investment. This is done by estimating the present discounted value of the increased income stream made possible by these investments and comparing it with their direct and indirect costs. Of course, health and education also their indirect ability to increase utility by increasing incomes. In this section, we will generally illustrate points with educational investment, but the same principles apply to health investment. So, So human capital approach, the term human capital approach refers to the economic value of a worker's experience and skills. So human capital includes assets like education, training, intelligence, skill, and health. Since human capital based on the investment of employees' skills and knowledge through education, this investment in human capital can be easily calculated. Human resources managers can calculate the total profits before and after any investment are made. Any return on investment of human capital can be calculated by dividing the company's total profit by its overall investment in human capital. So for example, if the company invests 2 million in its capital and has a total profit of 15, managers can compare the return on investment of its human capital yield over year in order to track how profit is improving and whether it has a relationship to the human capital investment. Child labor. Child labor is widespread problem in developing countries. When children under age 15 work, their labor time disrupts their schooling and in a majority of cases prevents them from attending school altogether. Compounding this, the health of child workers is significantly worse, even accounting for their poverty status, than that of children who do not work. Physical stunting among child laborers is very common. In addition, many laboring children are subject to especially cruel and exploitative working conditions. So, child labor ay ito yung mga batang nagtatrabaho ng maaga. Ito ang pagtatrabaho o pang-aabuso sa isang bata o minor de edad, lalo na kung ito ay sa pilitan. So, ang pagtatrabaho ng isang bata na nasa edad 15 years old hanggang 17 years old ay tinuturing na child labor. Ito ay pagtatrato ng isang bata na labag sa kaniyang kagustuhan. Nagtatrabaho ang mga bata sa kabila ng kanilang murang edad upang kumita ng salapi na pantustos sa pangangailangan ng kanilang mga magulang o kanilang mga pamilya. Ang child labor ay ang pagtatrabaho sa isang bata na walang permit, makakasama sa kanilang kalusugan, kulang sa edad at marami pang kadahilanan. So ang halimbawa nito ay ang mga bata ang mga bata na nagkakaedad ng 8 taong gulang. 'Di ba yung iba pinapalako ng kanilang nanay o kanilang tatay ng gulay para para magkaroon sila ng pera, at sa halip na dapat ay yung bata na pumasok siya sa paaralan upang maging maganda ang buhay niya sa hinaharap. Pero nang dahil nga sa kahirapan, kinakaya nilang kinakaya nilang gawin yung mga bagay na hindi pa pwedeng gawin. Gaya nga ng paglalako, pag pagbubuhat ng mga matitigas na bato para lang magkapera, tapos ng bobote, ganon. So, ginagawa nila yon sa paraan na kung paano sila magkakaroon ng pera at nang dahil nga ito sa kahirapan. Nang dahil sa kahirapan, nahihirapan sila at hindi sila nakakapag-aral ng mabuti at walang pantustos sa kanilang pag-aaral. The gender gap, women and education. Young females receive less education than young males in most low-income developing countries. Table 6.2 provides data on female-male gaps in literacy and enrollments for various developing countries. Large majorities of illiterate people and those who have been unable to attend school around the developing world are female. The educational gender gap is especially great in the least developed countries in Africa. As seen in Table 6.2, the gap is also relatively large in South Asia. In India, the adult female literacy rate is just 47.8, which is just 65% of the male rate. So, the gender gap in Africa is the gender disparities in secondary education have barely changed in sub-Saharan Africa since 1999, with still only around 8 girls for every 10 boys enrolling. In 2012, at least 19 countries around the world have fewer than 90 girls for every 100 boys in school, 15 of which were in sub-Saharan Africa. Although some African countries have made tremendous progress driving toward gender parity in some areas, gender inequality remains high across the continent. Women account for more than 50% of Africa's combined population, but in 2019 generate only 33% of the continent's collective GDP. So, the gender gap in education in South Asia. Gender disparities in education is prevalent issue in South Asia that is linked to pervasive sociocultural gender biases in the region. At the primary level, 5.9 million girls are out of school compared to 5.5 million boys. So the gender gap in education in India. Overall, men had much more education than women, especially 62% of women received no schooling at all compared to 31% of men. In addition, women had worse life cognition. The disparity in cognition between men and women was pronounced at lower levels of education and for the